We're ready? Yep. Excellent. Welcome, and I'll begin with our territory acknowledgement. We are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pay respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Oki, and welcome. So welcome to our last board meeting of this school year. We have a lot of material to get through today, and we had a longer than normal in-camera piece because there was pieces that are coming forward to our regular agenda. So we needed to cover those before we got into the regular agenda. So we have in front of you our consent agenda. Kristen, you don't have my book. It's all good. So you'll have to help me with. So I would like to pull the wellness committee. I just have a couple of questions for the report. So I would like to pull that from consent agenda. Is there anything else for consent agenda to pull?
Where do you want to move that?
I'm fine if it goes under, it's just
chair
report. So 12.4.
12.4 will be
wellness
committee.
Perfect. Okay, so next we'll move on for the approval of agenda. And Craig, go ahead.
I'd like to add 2 items to the agenda under action items. So 10.8, creation of an alternating and rotating vice chair, and 10.9, Whoop Up Day float.
Okay, any other additions or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I'm looking for an approval of the agenda as amended. Andrea, and those in favor? Jenny, and that's carried. The approval of the minutes. So there are 2 sets of minutes. The first one we'll cover is the budget meeting on May 27th. So the minutes are there for you to take a look at. Are there any errors or omissions? Jenny?
Just on the budget one, I think it might be worth noting, I had made a motion and that motion was made prior to us going in camera. And that's not quite reflected accurately in the minutes.
Let us just scroll to that. So this is the budget, the minutes for the budget one.
Let us know where that's at. Sorry.
I looked at this the other night and last night, but need to find it right now. So find that for you. But I had made a motion and the minutes, I believe, show that I made that motion after it came out of camera.
And you had made the motion prior to going
Prior
into
to going
camera.
in camera,
Okay.
yes.
So that needs to be moved above. So we're on page 3. The very top of the page has the names for and against and defeated. And then it says Christine Light moved to go into camera. And Jenny is stating that she had made the motion
So
that is below it.
So would that be after it was originally defeated? So that would be just above that. Yeah, motion to move in camera then. Okay. We can do that. And I think that you are correct on that, in my recollection.
Yeah, my recollection is the same, that it was, you had made the motion prior
Right.
to going
We will amend, we'll actually, normally we write the amendments in, but we'll get those retyped because of the substantial change.
the actual.
Absolute change, and then we'll sign off on, I'll sign off on it. Okay.
Any other errors or omissions? Seeing none, could I have a motion for approval of the minutes of the May 27th board meeting as amended? Christine, and those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we have the minutes of our May 28th regular board meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve those? Christina, and those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So next we'll move right into our reports. So Associate Superintendent report. The first one is business operations. Christine.
Okay, June. So first of all, I have to say the highlight of my last month or so here has been an opportunity to work at Nicole Agnes Davidson with grade fives on their school project. It was they had to design a school using math and engineering and critical thinking and whatnot. And as part of that project, before the kids completed, we had an opportunity to bring our blocks that we have to the school and have them work through a design process with the blocks. And I had to get on the floor and show them what I think the new school looked like with blocks. So that was kind of fun. And then we got to judge a week later. We got to judge their actual projects, and so when you can get out of your office, it's so much fun. And they're amazing. Some of the ideas were incredible. Also, Daniel Heaton, director of facilities, had GAA architects come in as part of our Galbraith design process to meet with the staff of Galbraith and go through and kind of take them through an exercise of what should the spaces look like and to inform preliminary design, and so that was done really well. West Cooley Station Elementary School. The name was now. It is progressing very well and moving along quickly, so we're pretty excited about that. In finance released Amazon Business, which was pretty exciting. It's an opportunity for our staff to go on and staff like to shop for some reason. I don't know what it is, but they do. They have an opportunity to go and do some shopping for some of the smaller incidental items. We're able to lock down items that we want to bulk buy or have, streamlined controls over, but it gives them the ability to purchase items and they get approved through approval processes with strong controls. And so in our first month, we had over 163 orders, and I suspect we will see that continue to rise as we go through. We were blessed with a WCB audit, first one we've ever had in the history of my history with the division, and so we were kind of a little nervous about what that entailed, but we passed with flying colors, so that was good. Occupational health and safety. Each year we do a survey of our staff to do a pulse to see what they know and do not know about our safety program, and then also to ask about safety concerns and suggestions. And so this year we had 272 staff respond. I believe last year it was 161, so I was quite pleased with the response rate. We asked them, well, what are your safety concerns? And slip, trips, and falls. Lots of concerns with working with complex students. Building infrastructure concerns, winter weather safety, and then of course wellness was another topic. And then we asked on there so that there was. Because safety is a responsibility of both the staff and the employer, we asked them, first of all, with your concerns, what can you do to address the concerns, and then what can the division do? And then so we had some suggestions, and relatively they're all are tied together, making sure that they're reporting hazards and doing their training and just being aware, whereas the division, we can make sure we're upkeeping our buildings, making sure that we're doing things timely like de-icing, that sort of thing, looking at staff and ergonomics. And so nothing surprising from that. But from that, we also look at statistics with our incidents and whatnot every quarter. And one of the things we discovered that our educational assistants and teachers, we provide them with a lot of training to help them out. What they call it, SEVA training. We had 10 SEVA trainings this year. 165 staff received their certification. And then when we also looked at the stats in our incident program, and from the period from March to May of 2024, our employee incidents or accidents were down 24% from last year. And one of the big areas that we noted was in the educational assistant group. And so 31%. And so their incidents were down. And so we'd like to hope that we're tying that to SEVA, because that's exactly what SEVA is to help with, is so that's that. Technology, you can see I've got some pieces of the evergreening plan. Jesse Sedlowski did a lot of work
to outline, if so there's a poster over there, there's other posters on the table to outline what we evergreen, the pieces and how they're evergreened, talked about the phasing of our evergreening plan because we've had questions, what we do with items once they're considered not to be in use anymore. And so a lot of good information, and that information was shared with administrators on how to access it on our webpage. So because we've had some staff that were asking questions about our plan. So we got that great document. The technology department met with elementary, middle, and high schools administrators and their technology lead teachers in June to talk about upcoming initiatives, the evergreening that's going on, talk about esports, and have an opportunity to have that genuine dialogue with those groups about some of the concerns or things that they'd like to see going forward. And of course, the team is always at this time is always working on helping schools schedule. They're working on the elementary report card. And one of the things to note, we're getting new fiber lines, which will upgrade our data from 10 gigs to from 1.5 gigs of data. And that's because of the Victoria Park upgrade. We're able to do that. And yeah, so they've been doing lots of work on just getting ready for some of the work that'll happen this summer. And of course, transportation, the big deal we've been doing right now is registering for transportation for next year. So we have an idea how to, the South Fund can figure out how to route and that sort of thing. And so we had sent out about 5,400 registrations. We had, it says 2998. The update on that is 3,100 replied yes. That was as of yesterday. 722 replied no. And then we had about 1,500 incomplete where they didn't complete it. And we've had staff and schools reaching out to try and get people to respond to it, just so that we have a really good idea. But at some point, those people who aren't going to respond, they're just not going to respond. So anyways, and then transportation for kindergarten, we haven't sent those registrations out, but those go out in August when we know who those kids are specifically. So yeah, seen that. And yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Christine. What questions or comments do we have? Andrea.
Thank you for taking the time, you and Daniel, to go to Agnes Davidson. That must have been so cool. And is it because of the new school that they probably took on that project? Would that be a motivator?
I think they wanted to have a real world application. And I think maybe just hearing about the new school probably spurred that on for sure. And yeah, and it was great and one thing I neglected to say that at the end of their presentation of their projects, I had a PowerPoint for them to show them a little bit about the project and what the design looked like, the actual floor plans, because that's what they worked on, floor plans, talked about the process, showed them construction. And they had such great questions. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. And I'm wondering at the new school, how the windows are in the 3 tiers. And I believe the library is up there. Does it face to Chief Mountain?
So the 3 tiers, those are called light scoops. So there's nothing in them. They're just in the main gathering space high up, bringing light into the school. They've got the Learning Commons is up on the 2nd floor, and it does not face Chief Mountain. Chief Mountain is more to the right of it, but you can certainly see the mountains from, if you look out, you can see the mountains to the side. You can also see it from the classroom wings.
The whole way across?
No.
Okay.
No, there's structurally, they've got stairs in between that and the wing, but there's a lot of glass there.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a comment. I know that you talked about my first ride coming up in August. I was able to participate last year, and I think that it's good encouragement at this point to remind trustees about that event. And remind parents that want to experience what a bus ride is like for their kids. It's very engaging. It's, if you have a kid that has any type of anxiety, it is definitely a very easy flowing experience with many buses for the kids to get on as they keep coming back after they go for a short little ride. So take advantage of this opportunity. I know that we'll be posting it on social media, but as trustees, if you're able to come, Holy Spirit's hosting this year. So it will be at the Children of St. Martha's School. But take advantage of this opportunity, whether you're a trustee or a parent with young students that haven't ridden, to come out, ask questions. And then there's lots of great display tables as well where we share information with families. So seeing, go ahead.
Oh, and just for that, if you want to volunteer to help, we're more than happy to have you come help and with the game. Well, we'll have games and we'll have, of course, food stations and things like that. And of course, the greeting the kids as they get on and off the bus and maybe riding with them if you want to every once in a while. So yeah, it'll be lots of fun. So I hope everybody or as many of you can make it as possible.
Yeah. And even if you, as a trustee, can only come for an hour or 2 hour, whatever, just let Christine know because she'll accept any help. And anytime you can help hand out hot dogs or help engage with families is great. Christina?
Thanks. Thanks for the report. Always great and always visually enjoyable to read. I just want to appreciate the decrease in the incidents that you've noted here. And I would agree, probably like at least in some part due to some of the training. So that's great. Really appreciate that and glad to see it working and certainly hope that people feel safer when they're more equipped. For the Amazon business piece, is there also still opportunity for folks to like purchase locally, things like that? Yeah. Can you tell us more about that? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We encourage, always encourage local, but well, following our procurement practices, right? So one of the things the purchasing department does when they're bulk buying or they're specifically sourcing, they look for those local Canadian vendors, that sort of thing, right? To make sure. But yeah, we really, at the end of the day, a lot of people were buying through Amazon Business. So we thought we might as well make it easier. It streamlines the whole process and lets people get those unique things that you can get from Amazon.
Craig?
Just a comment. I've actually had some really good feedback from parents and citizens about the naming of the new school, and they like it. So just passing that on.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Christine, for you and your team. Next up is Morag with Instructional Services.
Too much today. All right. Couple other things happened since we submitted this report in instructional services. First of all, just a really special thank you to everybody for showing up at Pride Parade who did. Amazing turnout. I think it was the largest representation from Lethbridge School Division yet in the community, and the energy was palatable and really well received, I think, by all. Connect for Wellness, we had 1,921 postcards sent out to all employees. Connect for Wellness is an initiative that Mental Health Capacity Building does. They do 3 a year of trying to really create community and enhance relationships and just get some fun and activity into our lives. And by far, this activity is the best received, and so many people participate. So it's 1,921 staff, 1,921 postcards, but that's from our staff to staff. Just some really positive, warm sentiments that were sent out. And so we really do appreciate Mental Health Capacity Building, the team of 5 that stick handle that initiative in June. We are still waiting on dual credit applications. There's a $50,000 startup that has been submitted, and it's for new initiatives in dual credit. Haven't heard yet back. And most recently from the dual credit team, they said they had a lot of interest from Alberta. So we'll see where that takes us. Hopefully we'll hear from the dual credit team, Alberta Ed, in the next month or so. That will give us additional funding to support even more attendance and registrations for dual credit. Another really neat piece that has been worked on was the Inclusive Ed team, Jackie Fletcher taking the charge with our diversity and inclusion event. We had 38 parents who attended, which was really superb to have, and lots of great feedback came around those questions that we've just, I've placed here in the report. Carly Campbell will be helping in consolidating that feedback and data and sending out to the attendees, to our staff, who obviously have a large part of responsibility in supporting instructional support plans. And then as well, we'll be submitting that feedback for the website to be sharing out so the parents can all see the feedback that we've received from the parents that showed on that day. Lastly, been working on distributing the nutrition and wellness grants. We had significant interest, the most ever by all schools, around nutrition. Some of the grants went up to $45,000 to $5,000 to start farm to table initiatives, really cool and creative nutrition ideas from our schools. And the wellness grants have all been allocated out as well. Lots of schools interested in promoting renewing playground equipment that's kind of worn out, or self-regulation continues to be something that we continue to support and purchase equipment for, as well as staff wellness initiatives continue to be something that our wellness grant supports. So that's kind of the layout of the land. One bit of a surprise for us was Permission Click finishing up with us. We've spent 5 years working with Permission Click. They've been really great at getting us using forms and kind of streamlining workflow process between school team permission, field trips, international trips, our requests for letters, various letters and documentation. So we, for 1 year, will be doing a paper process. We're not all that keen on that, but right now there is not an electronic process that we can immediately jump over to and port in all of the workflows that have been developed. So Carly Campbell and I in the summertime will be just developing those and ensuring that all of our schools are prepared for paper packages for the next year that will be replacing the Permission Click workflows. Yeah.
Andrea, go ahead.
Yes, I have the, oh no. Just a shout out to Connect for Wellness. That is amazing that 5 people get all those postcards and airheads out. And I know it makes a big difference to the staff who receive them. And I saw here something about AHS and Northside schools, possible mobile services. As you know, that's a passion project for me. Could you tell us more about that?
So the team of administrators in Alberta Health Services met last week, and in the meeting, they reviewed what people can access online. When we talk about mobile, like mobile online, not mobile as in getting services out. I think Alberta Health Services is definitely doing their best to ensure that we have all the information we need to support students who may not have access to certain services. What became very apparent in connecting with Deanna Presley Roberts was one of the website tools that currently only our medical clinics use, we also could use to determine and identify certain services that may be available to certain demographics of families. So, for example, in this tool, it would say, you know, what is the family status? Are there any language barriers? Are there da-da-da-da-da? And then they actually turn out various stakeholders, communities that can be accessed. And when we did that as a trial run, we actually found some that we didn't even know existed. So yeah, we're definitely continuing to look at how we can service all of our all of our students and families so that they have access to them. And then as well, I think there's a lot of education we still have to do with our staff to know what there is out there. So it was a good first step, and we'll see where the conversation leads.
Craig.
Yes, thank you for your report. I'm interested in the last little comment about one of our students getting a gold medal. And this is more for the board than we recognize all the sports teams if they win provincials. We need to start recognizing choirs, people that won first place in the skills competition. And I just think the board should be more proactive in finding out and bringing them to our school or to our meetings, either that or by Zoom if it's a big choir or something. But we need to celebrate those kind of things too, because that's part of instructional areas. And I know Mike might mention it, but Nicholas Sharon, grade 5 choir, won a provincial award for first place in their choir. And so I think it's just important that the board be aware of these things and we start to invite these students to our board meeting.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and yes, we'll take care of the Nicholas Sharon later. And I believe the young man who won the skills competition, Garrett, can you confirm this? He's coming today as well, so we will be recognized. And then we also have a fine arts group from Winston Churchill being recognized today. So certainly agree that we want to make sure that recognition is broad, but also kind of trying to keep it in the same category and same concept. So
exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate that, especially if they've won something provincially or nationally.
Thanks. So I have a question. I know that the instructional support, your team went out and did the work with the parents, which was awesome to have the parents come and have time to talk. And just knowing that in 2019, similar had happened. And then, of course, we had COVID. And then last year in June, we did an event, and then this session that was just held. I know that you said that the information will be shared on the website, and I'm just wondering, first, is there some key information that you're pulling from that? And then what are the next steps after it's posted on the website so that we see some action from the engagement opportunities?
So Jackie Fletcher is doing the collating of all of the data with Carly. What I have understood from the sharing, what Jackie has done with Carly is they used AI to find those common trends and then share those back out. Obviously, any of the feedback that ever comes to our teams from anybody, it's important that we share it with, as I mentioned, staff. So learning support teachers, our instructional services, because we know servicing exceptional students, it crosses the gamut from counseling to Indigenous ed to any of those other pieces. So I can't give you anything beyond what, like a work plan from this, but it definitely would be shared back out to the community that shared first, and then to the larger parent community, and then as well our staff and students. And I'm sure Jackie would have some ideas on next steps with just instructional support plans. That was a piece that was targeted from Town Hall. And so the reason why Jackie wanted to go down that rabbit hole a little deeper was because she has started to explore with her staff some areas that the instructional support plan need to look a little different, because we've used the same one now for about 10 years. So we recognize that we need to probably align a little differently, and especially given that Erin Herkett is revising the report card template in our elementary schools, we're seeing crossover in reporting and how we can be as aligned as possible so that parents are receiving as much information on one as they are on the other, right? So to be continued.
Thanks, Maura. We'll look for more in the fall, and we'll certainly be watching for those to be posted. So thank you for your team to be gathering with parents and having that opportunity. Jenny.
Yes, thank you for your report. I just had a question. I appreciate the work that Erin has been doing with our report cards, and I've heard lots of conversation around that piece throughout the year in different settings. And so my question just was, as this is continuing to be developed out, is it something that we anticipate will be utilized in, this is for elementary specific, do we anticipate it'll be utilized in grade 6 as well, or are we thinking we will keep it for the K to 5?
Great question, Jenny. And like with any pilots, we want to go slow to go fast. Like we really want to make sure, first of all, what we receive as feedback from the pilot schools or teachers that are going to be doing or using the report card, that we get feedback from parents, from teachers, from students. K to 5 is the targeted area right now. And so we're just going to be working slowly with that. I'm sure a lot of the learning that happens in K to 5 will also flow over to 6 to 8. Yeah, I think in talking to Aaron as well, we had talked about, well, they've got this great template. Should we move quickly? And I think Aaron and the committee all agreed that no, we need to get some more feedback on the template that we've created and adapted from other divisions first before we, jump in with 3 feet, 5 arms, and yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and certainly echo all of Morig's comments. And I would just say that moving forward, part of what I'm looking for is the work that we do in elementary to theoretically influence and impact what we do in middle school and hopefully even into high school, though high school is a little bit trickier with some of the expectations for government reporting. And the other thing I'd say is I think, when you mention grade 6 specifically, I think there's real opportunity there because there's new curriculum as well. So part of the concept here is to align objectives in the new curriculum with reporting. So certainly would make sense to see some of that happen in grade 6 as well. So yeah, that's definitely the goal.
Thanks. Thank you, Morgan, and your team. Garrett, the teams are not fully here yet. We'll check. So we'll move on to the human resources for Robbie.
Okay. I would like to highlight the school program tours I took with the principal at Victoria Park, Kaylee King. If you have not yet had an opportunity to visit our alternate programs, I highly recommend that you do so. It was enlightening. I have a whole new respect for the level of programming, service, and care that we offer our students in this school division, and the opportunities to help our students succeed. So it's people work diligently and exhaustive to help all of our students, especially those at highest risk. So a huge shout out to all of those programs and the things that are happening at Victoria Park. Now, I will give you a few highlights and updates from our staffing. This is as of mid-June. So number of continuing contracts offered, 58. Total number of postings for next school year, this is teacher postings, 87. I'd also like to highlight that we've had 12 teachers offered the opportunity to transfer. This is through application, but people that are looking for a change. So 12 teachers have had the opportunity to transfer. We've had 12 administrative appointments. We currently have 6 teacher postings at various levels of their stages in the hiring happening, as well as we have several EA postings happening right now. And we are working diligently to try and recruit more educational assistants in those postings. Any questions?
We're going to hold off for questions.
Yep.
And we're going to move on to our next part because it's nothing you're not exciting, Robbie, but the next part is much more exciting. Perfect. So we will look to who we have here for coaches. I think our first one we're going to do is Churchill Boys. So do we have we're good to go ahead for Churchill Boys? Okay. Are more coming? Nope. Let's roll with it. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike. He's going to speak a few words and we're going to bring the certificates over here.
Yeah, somebody grabbing the certificates. Yeah, just wanted to say very quickly, congratulations on your provincial championship. It's and you're going to hear this speech probably a number of times, but it's a rare opportunity to be able to compete at the highest level and to be able to win your final game and bring home a championship. You know, our hope is certainly that, well, first of all, we want to congratulate you. Very excited for you, proud for the effort that you put in. It takes a lot of resiliency, takes a lot of hard work to get to where you did. But also just that reminder for everybody in this room, whatever you've been involved with extracurricularly, those skills that you developed, you know, the teamwork, the dedication, the determination, the overcoming adversity, those are things that are going to benefit you not only to help you win whatever championship you've won, but also they're going to benefit you in your life. Those are things that will be very, very critical to your success moving forward. So the skills you've developed here, they're going to help you in the rest of your life. So we're pretty excited to have everyone here. This is a pretty awesome way to celebrate a board meeting. So we're going to be calling up some people and recognizing them here.
Tell Victoria, don't be late later this week. Sorry.
Thank you.
We can stand here and take a picture.
Yep. We'd like to congratulate the coaches for all that you did to make this happen. So Nevin, congratulations.
Thanks.
And John, congratulations.
So next we have our LCI girls rugby. So if we can have our coaches come up.
Yes. At the top here.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, and very similar to the speech you heard earlier. Congratulations on your championship. Always incredible opportunity to compete at the highest levels, be able to win the last game. And again, all those things that helped you to be successful as you competed, the teamwork, the dedication, the grit, those things will make you very successful in life. So we're certainly thrilled to have you here today and looking forward to honoring you. We're going to honor your coaches first. And then what's going to happen is your coaches will call you up, certificate, you'll shake our hands, then you'll come up on the steps here and we'll take a picture. Okay, make sense? Awesome. So first we'd like to congratulate Coach Samry. And then we will congratulate Coach Laura Murphy-Burke. Congratulations.
We got Abigail Highland. Johnson. Ooh. Liv Swift.
Congratulations.
Cami DeJong. Victoria Morley. Macy Hall. Keisha Ajte. Peyton Shields. Abigail Reimer. Let's see, Samara Verink. And Nevaeh Luce.
So congratulations. We're going to do a quick picture here.
All right. Next, we are going to honor our ICE scholarship winners. So on behalf of the Community Engagement Committee, we are excited to share that we had 11 applicants and 6 winners. So congratulations to all of those who are here in attendance to accept your award. Myself and Trustee Andriachek are going to share the awards. I'm going to do grade 9 and 10 first. Sorry, I didn't organize these. All right. I don't know how do you hold, this is a lot. There's a lot going on. Okay. Doesn't work. Next, congratulations. Can speak loud, but it's for the video. It's for the video. Congratulations to Nicia, who won for her Poppies and Poppies for a Purpose project, in which she designed her own crocheted poppy for Remembrance Day, getting permission from the Government of Canada, which is a challenging experience for a grade 10 student. Congratulations. And selling them for many years now is a fun development opportunity for the Legion. So congratulations, Nicia. I'll give you the All right, and finally, we have from grade 10 at Winston Churchill, Bobby Zhao and Selena Sun. And Bobby and Selena won for their participation in the Winston Churchill Garden Project. So we're all very excited, including Mike's apparently. Continuing family's work of agricultural development and encouraging the development of education. Encouraging the development of agricultural education at Winston Churchill. Congratulations.
And now it's my pleasure to award the grade 11 and 12 scholarships. Could I please have Armand Bendarian come up? And Patel. Nick. And they are all part of Winston Churchill Math Club, and we so appreciate how they grew their club this year. They offer tutoring in subjects than just math. They make math really fun for everyone, and we really appreciate their reach to elementary schools. They really cool math activities at Sharon and Lakeview this year, and we just so appreciate that. Congratulations. And next, could I have Akshara Nagaruru? Akshara presented two projects beautifully, a dance project for her dance club, and the one that stole our hearts was the baby bundles for new moms. She saw a need and she raised money, got volunteers, and put together wonderful baby bundles that are distributed at the food bank. And may I also add, this young lady is, oh, sorry, it's gonna make me cry. Sorry. Accepted into medical school in the UK, heading there right out of high school. So congratulations. And could I call up Autumn Koch? Autumn Koch, sorry, say it again. Kosh, thank you. Autumn Kosh, thank you for correcting me on that. That's important to get people's names right. Her canvas running shoes are so beautiful. They should be in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She saw a need for people who are maybe a little more shy or introverted to show their personality through their shoes. And she does such a beautiful job of that. And I will definitely be ordering some for my grandson, Leo. So congratulations to you.
And Christine.
Two young men are also going to medical school, all in the UK. All of you. And they're all here. Oh my, we should get a picture of all four of them. Remarkable. So,
We need you in our community.
yes.
Excellent. I'll just wait for Mike to come back up. The debate, which way to go? Oh, your mom. Yeah. Mom, you can go in the middle. Like you're totally good. Okay, so Mike.
Awesome. We'll see if maybe this works better if I just set it down. So next we want to recognize students from Winston Churchill, and we have a number of students that were recognized at the Alberta High School Drama Festival Association for their one-act play that's called "Postponing the Heat Death of the Universe" by Stephen Gregg. So they were selected from the Lethbridge Zone to represent our city at the festival. Did exceptionally well and received, a couple of students received acting awards, and the entire group won an award for their technical professionalism. So we're going to call on Emily Morrison to come on up and just talk a little bit. Yeah, first of all, congratulations, Emily. Thank you. And then just if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about the event that they were part of, we'd appreciate that.
Sure. Okay, so these lovely humans picked a play. Actually, Lena, their director, picked their play. They rehearsed by themselves. Well, I was there, but they did most of the work, and they competed against other plays within Churchill. There was 5 shows. They got selected among 2 to go against the other high schools in the city. From there, they were chosen to head to Red Deer, where we have our drama festival every year, and there were, I want to say, 16 plays from across the province that we watched over 3 days, and these lovely humans represented our school and our city so well. They received a almost instant standing ovation from a 500-member audience, and yeah, it's all student facilitated, and they totally earned this all by themselves, and I'm so proud of them. So.
Attempt to hold it immediately.
Yes, I'll try.
Okay, awesome. Next up, I have Forsyth. Next up, I have Knott. Joanna Zieber. Our lovely director, Lena Kozak. Our stage manager, Mateo Otega. He's not.
Congratulations to your helper. What do you call yourself in the position?
Just the person that's there.
The person that's there.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Emily.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, we do.
Here we go.
Congratulations. I think we found out again. And last but not least in our celebrations today, do you want to come up, Tate? He's like, I don't know.
Tate. Say a few
Yeah.
words.
Good. Everybody else got to come in groups.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Tate, you get the spotlight.
And speak a bit.
Yeah, and I'll just talk briefly. So Tate McGarry is a student from Chinook High School. Tate won a gold medal at the 2024 Skills Canada National Competition that was in Quebec City at the end of May. That's awesome. Tate took first place in cabinet making at the secondary level as a member of Team Alberta. His win as nationals was preceded by a gold medal at the 2024 Provincial Skills Canada competition that was held in Edmonton at the start of May. So congratulations, Tate. Wow. Love to see your work one day.
Yeah.
I might be the least handy person you've ever met, so standing in your presence is absolutely great. I have tremendous respect for your skills and abilities, and I don't share any of them, so.
I think there is a picture with a table
Yeah.
you did, right? That's in Christine's report,
Yeah.
I think.
Andrew Kroll has said this is one of the most talented carpenters he's ever met.
But it's in our board report somewhere, our board package. Congratulations.
Hey, you can build a really nice cabinet and put this picture in there and the certificate.
Yes.
Here we go. Yeah, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Awesome.
Thanks for recognizing our kids.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having them all
Thank
here.
you.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What a turnout. Yes, we have learned that the
Three
mics
of
don't
them.
work
Leave
well.
that one. We need Tate to build us a stand that would go here, that would be at that like standing height, right? I think we should call Tate back in. So are we good to go to our international trip since, where did he go? Oh, he's right there. You're coming by yourself? Perfect. In the hot seat, make sure you turn it on when you're, just because online can't hear otherwise. And Morag, did you want to lead with anything or you're good?
Hey. I'm Darren Madron. I'm the head coach and teacher at LCI. And this year our football team is planning a trip to Moscow, Idaho. And that will be, that's a funny joke every time I do it. That's not the first time. Anyways, we're going to Moscow, Idaho, or would like to go to Moscow, Idaho, October 4th and 5th. At that time, we play a varsity football game, 7 p.m. on the Friday night, and then we play a JV football game with our younger guys that don't always get in on the Saturday at 10 a.m. So it's a great opportunity for us to, I think, go somewhere different, to travel, to bond as a team, and also to get everyone into a football game, which isn't always possible.
So the information package is there for you. What questions do we have? Not seeing any. Oh,
I do have a
okay, go ahead,
question.
Christine.
I know your teams are quite large, right? Your program is very popular, and I'm just wondering, do all students that go have an opportunity to have field time?
In this situation, yes. All of our players, when we go to the US, have playing time because of that JV game.
Any other questions? Jenny?
Am I reading this right? Do they sleep in the gym?
We do. We don't always. Sometimes we get hotels. But one thing that I really like about sleeping in the gym is supervision. We have 8 coaches in a gym. All the players are in a gym. We know where all of them are. We know when all of them go to sleep. It's a little uncomfortable. But when you're in age denial like me, you still think you're 21 and you sleep on a wrestling mat and it's fine.
I love it. Go team.
Yeah.
Did I see you had a question? Or you're going to go forward with the motion? Go ahead.
I move that the Lethbridge Collegiate Institute trip to Moscow, Idaho, USA in October of 2024 be approved by the board on the condition that all division policies and procedures are strictly followed, and with the understanding that future travel advisories and/or vaccination requirements may affect the trip's ability to proceed.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Those in favor? And that's carried. Congratulations. Enjoy your trip.
Well, thank you very much for your time and thank you for approving it. We look forward to it. Take care.
Thanks. Now we'll go back to regular programming. Robbie, were there a couple of those highlights that you wanted to emphasize any more before we go to questions?
I don't think so. It was just an update similar to what I provided last month. I think when things really got chaotic in here, I was reiterating we had 12 administrator appointments and that we were doing everything we can to try and recruit educational assistants for applying to the postings that we have out. We do have a round of postings closing for our educational assistants, pardon me, this week. And then what we plan to do is another round that will open July 5th and stay open until August 12th to allow some people over the summer to consider what a great opportunity being employed as an educational assistant in our school division is.
Excellent. Thanks, Robbie.
Thanks.
Questions or comments for Robbie? Andrea?
You said, and thank you for your report, you said that there were 12 administrative positions this year. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes. And earlier when you said 12 again, was that continuing contract teachers? And is that in all of the jobs? 12 teachers got to move?
For voluntary transfers?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. And so how many jobs might there have been for continuing contract teachers that they could have applied for? Where 12?
We had a total number of postings for 24-25. For probationary positions, 56.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Robbie? Craig?
Just a comment on our service awards. It's quite amazing that we have 1,835 total combined years of service in our division. I would like to see, I'm hoping that our ones that are at 5 and 10 and 15 in a few years will add on those numbers of 20 to 25 and 30 because it's important to keep that expertise and knowledge in our division.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks. So with that, thank you, Robbie. I know your department had a couple busy months, and we appreciate all the work that you do. So thank you. Knowing that we have Avis with us, we are going to jump ahead if you want to get that in your packages, but I know that she's going to have information up on the screen for us, and we're going to look at our third quarter financial report.
Hello, everybody. All right.
So I am pleased to present the 2023-2024 third quarter report, Finance at a Glance, ending May 31st, 2024. So this presentation, as we've done in the past, is an overview of the quarterly reporting that was in your board package, and it is based on the 2023-24 operating budget, which is the approved September 30th budget. Subsequent to the approval of the September 30th budget, the following significant changes have been noted. So there was increases to funding from Alberta Education, which include $568,424 has been received from September to May for the Enrollment Growth Grant. A total of $758,000 is estimated to be received for the entire school year. $77,850 was announced for the School Nutrition Grant, which was received in the second quarter. $78,957 in fuel contingency funding has been used within the transportation budget, and $464,000 will be added to the transportation grant funding. Other changes include an agreement with Jordan's Principal that was signed between the Division and Indigenous Services Canada for $917,118. These funds are being used over the next 2 school years for EAs and other contracted services. And in quarter 2, there was a $548,000 received from a technology settlement with Microsoft that has now been recorded in other sales and services. So just a reminder, the budget charts that will be displayed as the following. In the half circles, the budget line is blue, the forecast line is green, and the red line shows the actuals. In the full circle charts, the budget line is blue, the forecast line is green, and the year-to-date spent is in red. There's also check marks in each area. The green check marks means the expenses are within forecasted costs. The blue check mark means that there are revenues to cover cost increases. And the yellow check mark means that expenses are over forecasted amounts but still within budget, and a black dash, is above forecasted costs. So let's start with revenues. As of May 31st, 2024, 76.5% of revenues have been received. Overall comparable to forecast, 76.5 of actual to 77.1 forecast, or a difference of about $744,000. The main areas to note include the increases from Alberta Education funding, which we just discussed above, as well as investment income is higher than budgeted, and other sales and services is higher than budgeted to the Microsoft settlement that we discussed above as well. These are being offset by the fees, as all possible fees are budgeted for, and they are lower than forecasted at this time. Next, under expenditures, so overall comparable to forecast, 77% actual to 76.9% forecast, or about a difference of about $184,000. Just a reason to note as well that the traditional 25% that you would see in each quarter is higher, as lots of things are over 10 months versus 12, and some expenses are paid fully in the first quarter. So next we will go over, we'll start with the departments. So first, within pre-K is at 77% of its total budget. It's in the forecasted costs of 80.3. The forecasted costs are higher than the average of the 25%, as the majority of the staff is paid within the 10 months versus 12. So it's overall within budget. Next is instruction, which is at 75.6% spent, and within forecasted costs is 75.6. So it's exactly where it should be, which is always nice to see. Operations and maintenance is at 78.6% of its total budget, which is in forecasted costs of 82.4. This area is higher than the average 25% per quarter, as there are some larger payments in the first quarter, which is mainly insurance. Next is transportation, which is at 119% of its total budget. So there's going to be some explanation. No need not to worry. So as you're aware, the funding model for transportation changed during the year with the increase of the $464,259 to be received by the division in additional. As well, the division also received $598,000 for the Christian schools. Now, instead of paying this out monthly, like we're currently receiving the funding from Alberta Education, we just gave them that $598,000. That's what they're going to be receiving. But instead of that, we didn't get the $598 from Alberta Ed. It's being paid over from November until August. So that's also something else. But that $598 is currently in our year-to-date expenses. So lastly, the majority of our transportation expenses are over a 10-month period, while we still have funding coming in for July and August. So while this looks alarming, need not to worry that we do believe we will break even. Yes, Christine and I have looked at it extensively, and that we will break even at the end of August. System and administration is at 75.5% of budget. So this is under the forecasted costs of 83.5. And lastly is external or international programmers at 71.4% of its total budget, which is under the forecasted costs of 75%. And then just a reminder, within this program, it is self-sustaining, which means that any expenses are covered by revenues generated in the program. So next we'll look at the types of expenses. So first we'll start with salaries, benefits, and professional development. So it's at 78.5% actual versus 77% forecast. So slightly higher, but overall still comparable. Lots of staff are at 10-month contracts, as well as substitute costs are for 10 months as well. So it's expected that this would be higher than the traditional 75% allocated per quarter. The contracted services is at 95.7% versus 81.4% forecast. So as well, this is over, but this is where those transportation costs that we just talked about have been recorded. So it's anticipated once the funding catches up, that'll be within budget. Other services are at 85.1% actual versus 92% forecast. So this is where our insurance is recorded. So that's why it is higher than the traditional 75% or 25%, sorry. Supplies is at 65.8% actual versus 74.4% forecast. Still some purchases to go. These, again, just as that this is as of end of May, so lots of activities in June. Technology is revving up for the summer as well, so there will still be some costs to come in here before the end of the year. Other expenditures are at 32.2% actual versus 75.1% forecast. There's been some savings in this area as many of the departments have not had to use their contingency accounts throughout the year. And last but not least, the transfers, school-generated funds. School-generated funds and capital IMR expenses are at 59.4% actual versus 71.1% forecast. School-generated funds are lower than forecasted, as discussed above. The fees and fundraising and donations come in. The expenses come out in this area, as well as the IMR costs are in here, which there's some summer projects that are going to be completed. So and we'll just take a quick look at the financial position as of May 31st. So as of May 31st, 2024, the division had net financial assets of $774,136, which is a decrease from the prior year of approximately $5.5 million. The majority of this decrease is from a reduction of cash and cash equivalents due to the spending of reserves, as well as the addition of the ARO or asset retirement obligation liability, which currently has no offsetting receivable, which is approximately $6 million. The net financial assets and the spent deferred capital contributions have a decrease from the prior year as well due to the amortization of capital assets, which is mainly buildings. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. Oh, sorry, Christine.
Yeah, no, I just want to, maybe we'll just touch base on the ARO liability a little
Yes.
bit. Because when you look at our net financial position of 774,000, it looks a little alarming.
Yes.
And that is because of a financial change that was made last year, that school boards had to record this liability. As Avis explained, there's no offset accounts receivable to it. There are some school divisions who are in a negative
Yes.
in that position because of
Yes.
that change. And so it's one of those things we have to look at and kind of isolate. And in when we're really looking at our financial position, we worry about our cash.
Yes.
And we look at our net assets and reserves. And so that's where we need to focus. So don't worry about that net finance. Because when I first look at it, I think I had to take an aspirin because I was a little concerned. But again, that's because of this new accounting treatment that came in last year. And so when we're looking at our financial health, kind of ignore that and look at our assets, look at our our regular liabilities and our net, like our reserves and things. That's what we need to focus on, not that particular number. So,
Craig.
Yeah, just with that accumulated depreciation or whatever it's called, how's that going to affect with the government, with their bill wanting to own all of the properties in the universities, schools, and other government agencies? How's that going to affect us in the long term?
That's a fantastic question, Craig. I'm happy to answer. So most recent, so Bill 13 is designed so that boards, commissions, public entities have given their asset information into a database for the government to make sure that they're aware of all basically the public entity assets, so we can go out and sell them without their knowledge. We'd already been under the Education Act. There's a requirement that we have to seek ministerial approval before selling our buildings and our land and all that. So that was already in place. Bill 13 now requires an inventory of those. So we've most recently received a spreadsheet from the government that I've gone through and actually submitted, where I had to go through. They've given us a list of our properties. What is the titles, the certificates, where's the geolocation? We had to update that where it was missing, and if there's changes and deletions, that sort of thing. With our buildings, for instance, they asked things about the net book value. So when we talk about the accumulated depreciation, so when we buy an asset, then we depreciate it. Each year we have what net book value. I had to actually go into that database, and luckily I just pulled from our year-end documents and put in for every one of our building assets the net book value. I also had to go and do an estimate of our operating costs per year. So, and update all that information, very big spreadsheet, and I've recently submitted it. So the government now has all our land titles information, all our assets, their net book values, their operating costs, and so they have that. But we always had that obligation legally to seek ministerial approval to dispose of those assets, but they now have a handle. And they had most of our information correct. Every modular, line by line, which was really great because then I got to confirm the modular values or modular ages on each of our schools, which was, it was actually very helpful information to have, particularly with some of the studies that we're working on. So yeah, that's, sorry, long answer, but it was a pretty interesting question. I was happy to share.
Go ahead, Craig.
Just to follow up, it seems like the government's going back to P3s again. How does that affect us if we're given a modernization or a new school and it's a P3? How does that affect our financial situation or ownership?
Well, with a P3, what they do is they get a kind of a consortium to build it and then operate it for 30 years. We still have an obligation to record the value of that asset on our books, and then the amortization and all that. But then there's like a big long-term operating lease agreement. Yeah, we wouldn't. And again, because we need ministerial approval, we wouldn't be able to just sell it from them. I know our Galbraith modernization will not be a P3. It'll be a design bid build with infrastructure managing that project. So we won't have a P3 on that project.
Thank you.
I think you're sharing because we heard some of the recent announcements, and there's a number of school divisions that have been chosen for those P3s. And knowing, and we had certainly some good conversation in regards to, there's been such promotion of not supporting P3s, and then to see that there's this support, strong support of these ones that are being pushed ahead to have those P3s. So
I might comment, the problem with P3s is you're not in charge of your facility. Somebody else is in charge of it for the long-term maintenance and operations, and it can create some tense moments for, you don't have the freedom you have when you're in charge of your buildings and your facilities. So that's one of the bigger concerns. And the concern is, will the contractor maintain it to the same standard that you, for instance, would maintain it?
certainly a discussion for future times, I think, for us. So any other questions for Avis? She covered quite a bit of information. So
Perfect.
we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So we need a motion to accept the third quarter report as presented. So Craig, the motion should be, so the motion will be, it is that the board accept the 2023-2024 third quarter financial report as presented. Is that your motion, Craig?
Yep.
Excellent. So any further questions or comments? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Avis. So next, back to regular programming. Mike, you're up. So we'll get into the superintendent reports. The first one is the board priorities report. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and I'll hit some of the highlights, some of which have already been discussed. And as always, if there's questions, we'll certainly do our best to answer them. So start off, I know we talked about report cards a little bit earlier, and certainly that'll be an area of emphasis, reporting back to parents. There will be some challenges in terms of piloting and also in terms of the technology related to Power School and how we can make templates, that sort of thing. We're navigating some tricky parts with that, but we're continuing to work on that and we'll continue to focus on it. Skipping down a little bit on the first page under the governance section where it talks about the Friends of 51 program. Don't need to get into the details, but just, all the awards, and the Friends of 51 is about community partners supporting our schools, supporting the division. And I will say it ad nauseum. I say it every single board meeting, but we are incredibly fortunate to have the level of community support that we have in this school division. And I don't think we can say that enough. Yes.
Just an addition to that, they honored Tim Hortons at Nicholas Sharon, and the grade ones made donuts, big donuts, colored them. They are now on display at the Tim Hortons at the north end of University Avenue. And so if you go in there, there's a sign that says, these are done by the grade one students of Nicholas Sharon. So
awesome to know. Thank you. We're skipping down to numeracy, and it has been discussed, but the Ecole Agnes Davidson project that a number of Ed Center folks went over and judged and were part of. And so I don't want to necessarily, that's already been discussed, and just wonderful opportunity to get into schools and connect with kids and staff. But really, that's a great example of when we have these debates about new curriculum and all those sorts of things, that a lot of it has to do, because some of this was related to new curriculum, I believe, but a lot of it has to do with the pedagogy, the instructional techniques, and taking that curriculum and bringing it to life. And that's something that I know Erin and her team have really emphasized. And I think that's the real opportunity as we work through the new implementation of the new curriculum. So pretty exciting stuff. We love to see those sorts of things. You'll see a little bit later, innovation and technology. The tech team spent some time meeting with representatives from schools just to update them, get some feedback, and get some dialogue going about what's going well and where there are areas of confusion or areas that need to be discussed. And so Jesse and his team have certainly, you can see up there, there's a whole technology evergreening flow chart. And a lot of that was based on some of those conversations and making sure that they were sharing information about here's what evergreening looks like, here's what we do, those sorts of things. Wellness, it's been mentioned a couple times, but I'll mention as well the mental health capacity building team and their Connect with Kindness initiative with the cards sent out among staff is just always a real highlight and very much welcomed in June. And then you'll see right below that that the mental health capacity building team also brought goats to here. They're actually out front, and I can verify there were goats there, and it was pretty cool. And students who were taking a break from studying for exams and writing exams had an opportunity to come over and de-stress a little bit and spend some time with some goats. So it was pretty cool. And so that is not a typo. There were actual goats here, and it was quite a bit of fun. Under administrator professional learning, just again, we had another professional learning session with our administrators, focuses on assessment. I am optimistic and hopeful. I think, you know, we've got a good focus here, and I think it's going to really pay dividends over the next couple years and will allow us to really dig deep and spend some time on it as opposed to sort of jumping from one thing to another as it relates to professional learning. And then the very last one, management of growth and supportive learning spaces. If you just scroll down a little bit more, Tina or Kristen, we'll see that one. It's the announcement about Galbraith Elementary School getting their modernization or their next phase in the planning for the modernization. Very excited about that. Certainly a school that we believe needs a modernization. And just a reminder for everybody in this room that we need to keep advocating that we're not over the goal line yet, that the modernization isn't happening until that modernization happens and it's done. We're going to need to continue to advocate because sometimes, even though you've had some planning money, it doesn't always turn into a modernization. So it's going to be very important for us to continue that advocacy. And I know the board's excited to do that work, so we'll continue to do that work. Unless there's questions, I'll go into
There's questions.
Okay,
stop.
great.
Craig.
Yeah, just, I think I saw it in an email, but they're going to delay the implementation of diploma and PATs computerized, or is that, and going back to the written work a little bit?
Not exactly, a little bit. They are extending out. So just for context, the government is looking at a new platform for the writing of digital exams. And so the first thing you think of is your traditional English language arts, Part A, social studies. Those are done on computer anyways. So Veretta is the new program. It will do that, but they're looking to expand it into other areas. So a lot of our math stuff where there's a question, you have to show your work. Theoretically, in the future, that can be done on computer. So yes, the government is bumping back some of the timelines on that pilot, but some of it's moving forward. Like we used Veretta almost exclusively for the word processing in the last writing session here. And so, you know, knock on wood, but it was a good session, we think. And so we think from the word processing end, that's just going to continue. And then they are going to expand it and roll it out. I'm happy that they're slowing down a little bit because there's a lot of, you know, the possibilities are exciting, but there's a lot of challenges related to the infrastructure to support that sort of test writing. So yeah, so I guess in that sense, some of the paper pen will continue, not so much writing essays with paper and pen, but certainly some of those long answer questions in biology, math, physics, chemistry will probably continue to be done for pen and paper for a little while. Yeah.
Okay. And just, you mentioned advocacy. I was talking to a trustee from Horizon, and they got money for planning a major remodel of, I think, their high school. And they thought they would get involved, they would get the money this year. And Calgary and Edmonton and Rocky View got it all. So it's not a guarantee, so you need to keep that advocacy going.
Yeah, that's why I said what I said, because we're excited about it. And, you know, as a person who's not an expert in this area, I tend to look at it and go, oh, well, we've got money for planning and it's been this year, this year, this year. So there's just going to be a natural progression and that's going to continue. But I've heard those same stories of suddenly the planning's happened and then it just stops. And so, yeah, that's why I mentioned we got to keep advocating. We got to get that one over the goal line, get it done.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, you can motor on. Oh, sorry, Jenny, go ahead.
I just had a question with the, just looking at the, under the numeracy, it looked like this project that was being maybe piloted or just started this year at Agnes Davidson sounded like a really neat project. I'd like to look at that link. But just comment is here that that project's being redesigned to take place in stages throughout the year, so it can be used for outcome-based assessment and reporting. I just wondered, is that intended to continue to be work done at Agnes, or is that to be implemented throughout the division, or am I reading that wrong? Is that not pertaining to that?
You know, I don't know, Jenny. Yeah, certainly if it's the way I read it, it is related to this particular project.
Is it for the whole division, or is this like continuing to be work being done at Agnes, is I guess what I'm wondering?
Yeah. So I think what they're talking about, and can certainly confirm that, is when you have a project like that, you know, if you work on it throughout the year, you can connect it back to more of the outcomes throughout the year and report back. So, you know, one part of it might be, because in the design phase, for example, there's certain outcomes that are going to be achieved there. And then in the presentation phase, there's certain outcomes that are achieved there. So I think that's what they're referring to, but I'm not 100% sure. So I can check and let you know if I gave you the totally wrong answer there.
No, I just wondered if it was still in development or if this was specific just to that school or, yeah.
I believe it's specific to this project, and specifically how do you kind of spread it out through the year and hit more of the outcomes.
Okay. And then I did have a second question. Just the supporting schools with combined grades, and we have in there Coalbanks. Is that our only school this coming year that has a combined grade situation?
No, we have a number. I think Robbie provided that information at some point in a board
I feel
report.
like I don't need that information. I felt like we had talked about additional schools, so I just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, my last question was, can you tell us about the foundational skills interview? What is that?
Yeah, is that under numeracy?
Like updating foundational skills interview to be aligned with new curriculum.
Do you want to talk about that, or you want me to? Okay. Generally speaking, foundational skills interviews are just related to numeracy, and essentially where a teacher has an opportunity to connect with a student to gain a little bit of an understanding of because one of the challenges related to math and numeracy in general is the skills scaffold and build. So if you're going to do fractions, you need to understand addition, multiplication, division, those sorts of things. You have to have some foundational skills. And so that's what they're about, is an opportunity for a teacher in a very specific way to ask student questions, conference with them to gain evidence about, where they at in terms of their foundational knowledge and skills related to numeracy. So.
Thanks. Okay, Mike, we can move on to donations and support.
Okay. We are, again, broken record, but, very, very fortunate. You can see the donations that we have there, and just some really neat things, and the community and the kids get excited. Like, we got backpacks coming from Costco and all this stuff. It was, again, just very, very fortunate. So Lakeview, Senator Joyce, Fairburn, Westminster, and Lakeview, again, all received grants and donations to help move the work that they do forward. So I don't need to read it all. You can read it, but again, very, very fortunate for the support that we get from the community.
Thanks. And then acknowledgements of excellence.
Yeah, so we've got Westminster, Fleetwood, and Emmanuel Christian Secondary School. Westminster, one of the first things I think of with Westminster is, again, the real community support that we get. And you can see it right away, how the community just rallies around that school and provides opportunities for the kids there to go have all kinds of experiences, attend the Glow Gardens, those sorts of things. And then a little later on, you read about the Literacy Day and, students and staff dressing up as their favorite characters, book buddies, all kinds of activities going on, and the kids are just really excited. And we talk a lot about literacy and F&P and all those sorts of things, and those are very important, but that love of reading, that's one of the most critical things. And so what a great way to promote literacy. And if our kids can come out of school really enjoying reading, boy, that'll help them set up for success in life. So I was pretty excited to see that and thought that was great. And then, last thing, just talking about their grade 5s and saying farewell to them. And that's always an exciting time, but it's always a tough time too, watching them grow up, and then they're going to head off to middle school. Fleetwood Baden, again, another school very much strongly supported by the community. And, same with Westminster, a very strong support back the other way. Like, yes, the community supports, but the school also really supports the community and the kids. And in that first sentence there is a great example. So Mindful Munchies program, which provides lunch, London Road Market, which assists with nutrition programming and making sure kids are fed and have meals. And so that's really, really important. And so as you also know, Fleetwood's very unique. It's a dual track school. So they've got Montessori program, and then they've got just traditional K-5 programming going on as well. And then at the end, again, we talk about literacy and promoting literacy and love of literacy and reading. And here's another great example of bringing the community in, that Fleetwood's been selected by Chapters Indigo for the Love of Reading Foundation. And they're going to get a percentage of sales purchased between September 15 and October 6, 2024. So we're going to have to all go out and buy some books and support the school. But again, another way to get the community excited and engaged in literacy, get kids excited. So great stuff there. Then Emmanuel Christian Secondary. I see in here they talk about hosting the girls' provincial basketball championships, the 2As, and I had the opportunity to be at the opening ceremonies, give a little speech, and I got to tell you, it was a phenomenal event. And the community just rallied around that event, volunteers, the staff worked incredibly hard. It was just awesome to be part of. And then you'll see a little later, and I mean, there's a number of examples of success they've had in extracurricular. Then a little later, it talks about their chapels and the importance of faith in that school community. And that school community works very hard to make sure that faith is an important and visible part of everything they do. It talks about band and choir programs and how they've done professional learning, all those sorts of things. And what I would sum up with Emmanuel Christian Secondary School is you've got relatively speaking, compared to the other high schools in our division, our secondary schools, they're a very small school, but boy, do they provide their students with incredible opportunities in a whole variety of areas. And I know they work incredibly hard to really try and offer the same programs as schools that are significantly bigger than them. And that's a result of the dedication of the staff, the dedication of the society, the community, to all make sure they're providing their kids with the best experience possible. Then I'm going to add a couple things in that aren't part of this. Two really cool things. One, Carly Lewis, who is a teacher at Gilbert Patterson. She's runs the band program there. She was recognized in the Alberta Women Band Directors International magazine, and for her work that she's done at Gilbert Patterson, where they've seen a significant increase in students that are accessing music and being part of the program. And they won, there's a whole list of awards that they won at various festivals and events, that sort of thing. So certainly huge congratulations to Carly. That's pretty cool, and pretty cool that she got that recognition. So very excited about that. And then Craig mentioned it earlier, Nicholas Sharon. So they placed first in the recorded choir category for grades 4 to 6 at the Alberta Music Festival in May 2024. So that's really exciting. Owen Sheedy leads that program as the teacher, and Lauren Midden, who's a volunteer accompanist for them, was part of that as well. So really exciting for them, and I know they are honored at the school, but just something that we wanted to mention as well, because a great opportunity for those kids to go and showcase their talents, and certainly very, very excited about the work that they did and the performance that they had. So those are all the recognitions.
Excellent, thank you. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to the LH Buzzard Award winners.
Yeah, we're going to keep recognizing, and I won't go through everything here. I'm just having the fortune to get to understand a little more about these awards as well. But they're presented to upper elementary students who show exceptional creative ability, and it focuses on music, art, drama, language arts, physical education. And so you can see the list of students that have been recognized. And I know we made sure we got the certificates all signed and sent out. So congratulations! What a great award, and a great opportunity again to recognize all that broad category of things that students do. Like, yes, our literacy and numeracy work and those things that we do related to those are very much core to what we do, but there's so much else that schools are about in Lethbridge School Division, and providing kids with a broad range of experiences and a broad range of opportunities to really show their talents and their passions.
Thanks, Mike. And next is administrative appointments.
Yep, and we don't need to spend much time on that because you're aware of all these, but we just traditionally put them in the board meeting, and so they're there, and you're certainly welcome to read them. Same thing with the calendar of events. We are winding down here. Can't believe we're already starting to think about August. Christine she had her first ride event posters up so early, and I'm like, really, do we have to, like, we're already into August, but it'll be quick, and yeah, you got to promote it. So obviously we're at the end of the school year here. We'll be done here at the end of the week, and then some big things coming next year. Always a big highlight, our welcome back pancake breakfast. We always look forward to that, and lots of organization goes into that, but that'll be exciting. An organizational meeting September 10th. We're back at it.
Yeah, we're back at it. If I can just add, for the September 10th, so we do have the organizational meeting, and we will also be having a committee of the whole that day as well on September 10th. All trustees already have that information, but just so it's documented. Anything else on the calendar of events? I know the next few days are going to be busy as we're all out at schools, graduations, ceremonies, awards. So we have a very busy week still ahead of us to deal with, but we will hopefully have a bit of a break over the summer. So that'll be nice. I saw some hands over here. Are you guys good? Chris? No. Okay. Perfect. So
okay, the next one is
the personal device update. Go ahead.
And this is one where certainly be interested in hearing feedback from the board. What we'll do is we'll give a little bit of background for the public and for you. I think most of you know this, but we'll give a little bit of background just to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of where we're at. We've got a bit of an outline for a skeleton plan. We'd be interested in hearing any feedback. I'll certainly make some recommendations of how I think we should move this forward, but would love to hear from the board too if you have different thoughts or perspectives. So as you know, the provincial government announced restrictions to personal mobile devices and social media. My memo does say is the time of writing. I was writing it on last Thursday, and so we didn't have the ministerial order yet, but the ministerial order actually came in Friday morning. I almost had time to change the memo, but I didn't get to it. So I just wanted to make sure that the public knew that it did come out on Friday morning, and we certainly appreciate the government getting that out as quickly as possible, because getting the actual order is pretty important before you start making policies and procedures, that sort of thing. Just so you know, the understanding of the implementation is the expectation from the minister is at the start of next school year, we are implementing the ministerial order. However, we have time to sort of tweak and refine our policies or procedures, and we have to have them sort of finalized by January, I think, 1st, 2025. So it's a little bit of a weird way to do it. It's just timing because we have the start of the school year and the minister's like, we're not going to wait. We're going to start the school year doing this. And even if it's not perfect, we'll refine it and take a little bit of time on that. So certainly we're fine figuring that out, and we will get that figured out. So our plan is at this point is that, you know, this summer in the next few weeks, we'd sit down and create an initial personal device access to social media administrative procedure. And our recommendation would be that it's administrative procedure at this point, not a policy. That could theoretically change later, but I'll give you the rationale for that. There's a couple reasons. One is it's primarily operational, so it does make sense that it's probably a procedure. The other thing is, given the time frame that we have to have it for the start of next school year, it would be virtually impossible for us to create a policy and go through the processes that we need to go through. And that's one of the reasons that you have administrative procedures, because sometimes you need to be flexible and nimble and make some adjustments. So we do have a responsible use of technology policy, and we would probably just connect that procedure underneath that. Also, if you go on the website, you will see that we actually have administrative procedures related to social media and related to cell phones and personal use devices. But if you actually read the procedures, they're not designed to be consistent with a ministerial order. They're more related to staff and giving staff guidance about some of those things. So I kind of looked at them and said, oh, I wonder how much of this we have done. It's like, yep, no, I didn't think we had any of it. And, you know, our policy, responsible use of technology, I think it's 2016 was the last time it's updated. It's actually, there's very good work. The folks who did that did very, very good work, but obviously that's going to need to be updated, not just because of the ministerial order, but as you well know, 8 years in the world of technology is, you are very, very out of date very quickly. So our view is over the summer, we would create an administrative procedure. There's a lot of divisions that have been working on policies and procedures, so there's a fair bit of information out there that we can start to use to create a skeleton. Then what we'd like to do in August is share that administrative procedure out with the board to make sure you're just generally comfortable with it, and really it would be critical at that first meeting to share it with administrators, because they're the ones who need to operationalize it. And at that point, they're going to have about a week to get their brain wrapped around it and try and get everything communicated. So we want to make sure that they feel comfortable, that we've got questions that they have out there answered, all those sorts of things. The goal of creating that administrative procedure, though, is to try and prevent chaos in the fall if everybody's trying to implement the ministerial order but not 100% sure what to do. Having said that, there's going to be some growing pains with this. It's really hard to bring in a brand new administrative procedure in June and then roll it out perfectly in September, and that's okay. We need to just give ourselves some grace and patience on that and work through that process. Then what we would like to do in September to November is, it's a little bit backwards, but I think this will actually potentially work well, is engage our stakeholders, is say, okay, we've got this procedure, so say, you know, administrators, staff, what are you seeing? How is this working? Students, what's your feedback? Parents, and guardians and caregivers, what's your feedback? And then, you know, tweak, change, update the procedure as we go along. So, and just so you know, that was our intention to do that anyways in the assurance plan. So the order of it's a little different because now the government has said, you know, here's some things you have to do, which is, you know, fine from an operational perspective. We appreciate that, and we think we can work with what we have here. And so, yeah, get some feedback, and then with the goal of tweaking, updating that administrative procedure for January. That's also an assumption that we will keep it as an administrative procedure. Maybe it changes to a policy, maybe it rolls into one of our current policies, that sort of thing. But right now, my recommendation would be start it off as an administrative procedure so we can get it going, so we can make the changes that we need to it ongoing. And then the other thing we will look to do at the Policy Advisory Committee, and this was already work that we had committed to, was looking at Policy 607.4, responsible use of technology, and updating that because it does need an update. So that's our preliminary outline of steps. That's what we think makes sense right now and will help us get started at the school year, but would certainly welcome any comments, questions, or if you look at it and go, I think maybe you've missed the mark, then we'd be happy to hear that as well.
So what are our thoughts on the plan and the work that Mike's put into this so far to be ready for September, and then our plan for the fall? Seeing thumbs up. Craig?
I don't mind that. It's just that if during our process of looking at our policies, we come in with some stuff that the procedure needs to be changed to come in line with our policy, you're willing to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the advantage of having it as a procedure right now, because we have that flexibility to do that. So yeah, it's got to be aligned with policy. And you know, my vision, my assumption is, and I could be wrong, is that we are going to spend a bunch of time in September, November, and maybe even beyond tweaking, changing, getting it just right, and making sure that we're engaging stakeholders in that process. Maybe we'll find that it's simple and everyone kind of goes, yeah, okay, this makes sense. But my guess is there'll be some nuance and really talking about what are the role of parents and guardians and caregivers, what's the role of students, being really clear on those things. So yeah.
No, I'm in favor of it.
Looks like support around the room. So, go ahead, Christina.
Thanks for the plan. I appreciate that. It was hard to wrap my brain around like how we might get from June 17th to September. Because the restrictions are fairly in depth in terms of the ministerial order and the standards for use piece. Like to the point of like smartwatches are not allowed. He's like, that's a big one. That I hadn't heard and occurred to me. Is there a sense of, like, are you guys at a place where you could give us a bit of a glimpse into some of the tools you might be thinking about? Like, one of the pieces around, like, no access to social media on school property pieces. Like, youth have many social medias. The kids. How I wouldn't even know how to approach such a thing.
Yeah, excellent question. And actually, I meant to mention this because one of the things I did is I asked our schools to send me in, because many of our schools already have a lot of these guidelines and practices in place. Our policy has been that schools are responsible for creating those guidelines. But we had said in the insurance plan, we think the division needs to weigh in a little bit. And now the government's doing that. So a lot of our schools already have these in place. And so that's really helpful for us because it's sort of ingrained. You were right, Christina. In particular, smartwatches caught my attention because it's very difficult to manage. And I mean, you're wearing a watch. Is it a smartwatch? Is it not a smartwatch? Is it turned off? What is it? What's its status? So that's a little trickier in my view than putting a cell phone away in a bag and saying that can't be out. Oh, sorry. What was your other? I don't think I answered everything there.
Mostly it was just like, do you have any strategies that you're thinking of that you are able to share around what you think might be in the administrative procedure? You may not, given that it's been a week.
Yeah. Most of our schools already have strategies. So really a lot of it is just about how do you communicate with your school communities, and then how do you work with students to make sure that they are following the guidelines. And, one of the things we'll have to navigate a little bit is, we do have to spell out consequences. I think that's part of the ministerial order. And to what extent, yes, we need to communicate with parents. You wouldn't communicate every time you tell all your students at the start of class, make sure all your technology's away. But if you're constantly dealing with things, so there'll be some of that, but I think we've got good practices in place. So I don't know that I can give you any insight into what that'll look like necessarily. The social media part of it, I have talked with our tech team a little bit. We've had some initial conversations. It isn't overly difficult to block social media through our firewall. We have actually pretty good capabilities in that regard. Here's where the challenge will be. So we'll be able to do a lot of that. Where the challenge will be is, defining what is social media. Things like YouTube, there's some Facebook stuff that sometimes gets used for educational purposes. So navigating some of that and making sure we're figuring that out. So there'll be some tricky parts in that. Probably 75% of it's pretty easy. You flip a switch and it's blocked, but it's that 25% that's tough. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's that 25% that's going to cause us a lot of challenges. And Christine, I think that's going to be part of the challenge moving forward. That's why, we are going to be aggressive is not the right word, but we're going to really try and get things implemented and get things rolling out with the reality and the recognition that we're going to have to tweak it. It's going to cause some unintended consequences, and we might have to back off in some areas. But, I think that the silver lining is a lot of our schools have done a lot of this work already. So that's really good. I'm really happy about that. They've all taken a little bit of a unique approach to it, but most of this won't be foreign, and I think that makes a huge difference in terms of the implementation.
Christina.
Yeah, and to that point, I do want to thank schools and school councils, parents, student groups who've taken this really seriously before this came out and have been trying to tackle this at different levels within our existing policy. I've talked to some students about it, and the one thing they wanted me to share was that they also use social media to help promote like their student groups, like their clubs and stuff, and that we may need to work with students on their own methods by which they can like promote their own work as well. So that was just something that they wanted me to share.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's that 25% that I talk about. You've got a teacher that does social media. You've got a club or something like that, and they've got an Instagram account, whatever that might be. And also, it's important to note, doesn't mean that schools will be social media free zones. We don't control the data on people's cell phones, so we're really just talking about when they access our network and our Wi-Fi and our devices. Yep, great point. If they're on our network and accessing our infrastructure through the internet, then that's where things will be blocked. But if they've got data, not much we can do about that. Yeah.
Jenny?
I think that you bring up a really good point, and there's definitely, examples like that where I think it's important in reading the order that we recognize that it does allow for some limited use exceptions, and it does say limited access to social media may be permitted as determined by a principal. So if we recognize that, for an example, if a principal said, our leadership team promotes things on social media for the school and we want to continue that, would we be able to set that up, or would firewalls kind of prevent us? Like, is this somewhere, like the order allows for some flexibility, but do our systems allow for flexibility that matches?
This is the 25% and those growing pains that we'll have. I've only had initial conversations. I know we do have situations where they are able to turn things on in certain locations, that sort of thing. I just don't know to what extent that capability exists and how. The other thing I don't know is how labor intensive it is. So that's one of the things we have to explore. Yeah, because it's easy, exactly, because it's easy to just shut it off. We can do that. That's not that hard. But the nuance of there are legitimate uses of these things and how do we allow space for that? That'll be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just have our tech team in mind in asking those questions, because if it seems complex. I know very little in the area, but thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. I know you have lots of work ahead of you on that, and we'll be enjoying summer and you're not.
No, but you know what? It's important work. It was work we're going to do anyways. And I think if we can roll this out, again, there will be growing pains, there will be challenges, but my hope is that this will ultimately positively impact kids' learning.
And I think that's the end result, right? Is how do we support our students the best way we can with this? So I think we'll get there, and it's just figuring it out along the way. So thanks, Mike. So next we're going to move into our first action item, and we will break in 8 minutes if we're not done this item. So it is the policy review report card policy, and it is Jenny. So I don't want to cut any of it short, but I will be stopping at 5 for a moment.
Okay, that sounds great. So the policy that we're looking at is school fees, and this one has gone through the process of
the report cards.
Sorry, policy. Report cards first. Sorry. 609.2 reporting student we used to say report cards. It used to say report cards. Now it says reporting student progress is a suggested amendment for the board. So this one has gone through the process of the policy committee looking at it, policy review committee looking at it, everybody bringing back their feedback from stakeholder groups, and then this going out to stakeholders through our website. And as that feedback came back, we looked at it again and actually had quite extensive conversation again. And so you can see there is a lot of red. So that's reflective of a involved process in trying to make this policy what it is intended to be. And one of the things you'll notice there at the beginning of looking at this is the addition of a statement. And this is the intention here was to give that, I don't know if philosophy is the right word, but the value statement of what this policy is and the purpose that it it fulfills. And from there, you can see the adjustments that were made throughout. One of the things that we recognized as a committee, taking in all the feedback and reviewing things, was that there are different needs within each level in our division of elementary, middle school, and high schools. And so the policy, the way it was written before, didn't accurately represent, we're not able to write one statement the way it was written before that reflected what actually happens. We don't have semesters in our elementary schools. And so some of those changes reflect that conversation as well. The rest of it you can kind of see throughout what we've done. That gives you some of the background of the things that were significant in our conversation. Significant in the feedback and in conversation was effective access for report cards, and so you'll see we've added in a piece about paper copies being available as well, we removed upon request, so being made available. And that is broad in its statement to allow flexibility, because that's obviously complex in practice, but we recognize that it can be necessary for sure. And so that's been included in there. And so I just wanted to provide the board the background in the conversation that happened behind all the red you see on your page before you. So any other questions?
Move to questions. Seeing none. Oh, Craig.
Well, I feel that this is more a operational procedure than a policy. So I'm just going to go on record that it should be a procedure. But other than that, I'm fine with it.
Sounds good. I'm not seeing anything else. So Jenny, go ahead.
Craig, I appreciate that. That was conversation that we had as well. And what was kind of the takeaway from that conversation is there is need for procedure for sure in development of procedure in coming up with some of the answers to some of the questions and conversation that came up. But what came out of it was a desire that the division and the board make a statement that we do use reporting, and that we use this form of a progress reporting, and report cards are a part of that. And that is something that not all divisions are taking that avenue, I guess. And so what came out of that was this is a policy where we say we use reporting. These are the basics around it. And then we allow for a procedure to be developed to make it clear how and where and what is involved in that.
Seeing, oh, Christina.
Can you remind me, is this in like parallel to the work that's happening in the instruction team, or were they there?
That is a really good question. I'm really glad you brought that up. We did have Erin Herkett in the room. And so that did inform largely our conversation on this. And I really appreciate that question. Thank you. Yep, she was there and involved, and we relied heavily on her for insight and for understanding. And she was able to provide respectful advice, and we were able to ask a lot of questions of her and gain a lot of information. So thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, and I'll just add one other thing. And yeah, absolutely, Erin was critical to that process. And the other thing we did is we spent some time at our administrator committee meeting going over this policy and gathering feedback from our administrators as well, because we thought that was a pretty important step too.
Christina?
Yeah, because I think you. That was mostly the context that I'm concerned about, just because I would agree actually that there's a lot in here that I think is maybe more procedural, like that I really value, but I just don't want to hold people that have to do it to account for things that I theoretically like. In particular, I appreciate the conversation around accessibility. I know that the paper versus digital becomes very challenging at different levels and different people's opinions. And but I personally do really think the paper piece is important for many families that have had to support, and that it has been a challenge. So making sure that students and their families have access to the information is critical. So the idea is that this policy then informs or gets met by the administrative work that's happening in instruction with Erin. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, I'd say so. And yeah, I mean, I think as we go through the whole report card thing, it's not outside the realm of possibility that we maybe have to adjust this, but I think Jenny will correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like, yeah, people thought that we were on the right track. And certainly I don't think Erin thought that this hurt any of her work. Probably helps give a little bit of guidance. And, and the paper thing is an interesting, because that is sort of an operational thing, but we had a good conversation, or at least the way I remember it, or what I thought in my mind, was that, it probably is important for us to say, we think that, we should be supplying paper copies. And that's not a typical governance thing, but for exactly the reasons you outlined, it was important for us to have that in policy and say, you know what, this is important. Again, maybe down the road we revisit that, but I think the people in the room felt that, yeah, it was important to say that. And it was certainly some of the feedback we heard from a variety of stakeholders as well.
So we will come back to this conversation. So it is 5:00. So just double checking that we do not have anybody that logged on, Kristen or Tina. Okay, sounds good. And there's nobody in the room for public forum. So there is no public forum, and we'll return to the conversation. Jenny.
I just wanted to say thank you for that comment as well. The paper copies, there certainly is concern about access. And that was a part of the conversation, as well as not just limited access, but how effective we are in our communication, and the user-friendly abilities of things, even things as simple as, after a certain day, you can't access last year's report cards anymore, kind of thing, if they're on digital. And that happens fairly quickly. With Power School gets shut down and report cards can't be accessed. And so access becomes a multifaceted conversation and a leveled conversation of even just knowing how to find things on the device, or being on a phone versus a computer, or the availability of Power School, and it gets pretty complex. And so the desire, because we did talk about, is this procedure, is this policy? And I appreciate, Mike, I think you captured it really well. I think what it was is we're just looking for consistency, and that students and families can anticipate consistency, and that they'll be able to have that access no matter what school they're attending.
Seeing no further comments or questions, Jenny, did you have a motion to make?
I would like to motion that the board adopt the revisions to the, let's do one at a time. That the board adopt the revisions to policy 609.2, reporting student progress, as amended.
Excellent. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So next we have the school fee policy. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was getting ahead of myself before. Now we get to look at school fee. This is 802.2 school fees. This one has this one has less to discuss in it, but the changes are as recorded there, and I would open it up to conversation on this one.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just one thing that I think we want to note for the record, the changes to this policy were as a result of a motion from the last board meeting, a request by the board to align this policy with the regulations for school fees. So it didn't go through the normal policy advisory committee. It would be part of just our regular review that we do, but I just think it's important to mention that you know, it came through and Christine Lee and Avis did obviously the lion's share of the work on getting it to where it is today.
Thank you. So I have a couple of comments and a question. So the first start is thank you for doing this. I think that it's great for us to be in alignment with the school fee regulation, and I appreciate the expediency in getting this for us for this month. One thing that I'd like to point out is in the regulations number 2, where we state that we'll have this well in advance so that when parents are registering and students are registering that they have that information. And I think that it's important to note that the school fee regulation states that these only need to be posted prior to the commencement of each school year. And I think that this really signifies that our school division is going above and beyond that and ensuring that students and families do have this information well in advance and ahead of time. And I would like to commend the division for doing that piece and having that in there, because we could just say before the start of next year, but it's, I think, just doing that extra bit so that parents and students are informed before they sign their kids up and they know what they're getting into with any kind of school fees and what that might work for their family. The other piece that I've had questions in regards to, and I know that every time that we have international travel trips that come to us as a board to approve, and I know the answer to this, but I think it's important that it's discussed, is just do these school fees under number 4 where it talks about non-curricular services, does that cover in the international travel trips, or how are we covering the international travel trips and the fees that are associated with that, and what will that look like going forward?
Sure. So if you see in our definitions under non-curricular services, the very last item is and extended non-curricular trips. So that would include our travel. So the plan, once this is passed, we're going to beef up our procedures a little bit. In particular, we will probably break out the enhanced educational services, which are traditionally your option fees, separate from non-curricular fees. And then we'll probably we'll also spell it out from the actual travel piece. Know that gets approved by the board. Knowing that in some cases when schools are setting a travel fee for the year, they may or may not have already sought approval, but they may be thinking and planning, so they can put a fee in there. And if you know, we've been batting around possibly a form that would say, has this gone to the board yet, yes or no, plus then a variety of information of the details of what they think it would cost and that sort of thing. For those who are actually officially seeking approval or have sought approval, of course they can provide a lot of detail, tick off that they've sought approval, and then also maybe answer some of those questions that we get when they come to the board, as you know, are chaperones included? Do they pay a fee? Are they included in the cost? Is there fundraising opportunities and that sort of thing? And so we've got to flesh that out. Really, at the end of the day, once we beef up our procedures and maybe the idea is to create forms to make it easier for schools to fill it out, and at the end of the day, communicate purpose and information to our families on those fees. We're going to take this to, of course, administrators, so that they're the ones who are going to have to live with it, to make sure that can we operationalize what we're doing and still meet, of course, our policy and regulations. So.
Sounds good. Jenny?
My only question would be, and looking back at regulation number 2, would there perhaps be need for wording that allows something, for example, as with exception for newly developed courses approved after the time of registration? Would there be a need for wording that allows for, because sometimes we're approving our locally developed courses, but that happens typically in May. And so that is after our registration date. But the way this is written, it limits them. Because if that course isn't developed and their fees aren't developed prior to registration opening up is that March that it opens?
It depends. And I guess to answer your question a bit is it depends what you define as at time of registration. Because at time of registration could be at registration for the school year or registration for the course. Which is then you would have that if we just put in a new course partway through the year, or then when you're registering for that particular course, because you could register for the school year and pick your options later up until I believe August in some cases, depending on timetables and how that works, you can actually register later. So I think at time of registration would be in my eye as registration at time of the course or the option or the activity, right? Because in a lot of activities, you may not be registering until, March, April, May, June, second semester, that sort of thing. So if we take it time of registration, I think we have that flexibility.
Okay. I know my kids bring home their, pick your options pretty early in the year. But yeah, I think in practice, it maybe works. Okay. I just want to make sure we're not limiting anyone in the way it's written.
Looking for a motion then, if I don't see any other questions or comments. Christine?
I move, look for the motion of the previous one. I move that the board adopt the revisions to policy 802.2 school fees as amended.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for all that work to get that done for us. And you're up next, Christine, for West Cooley Station School Code request.
Yes. So once we named the school, West Cooley Station Elementary School, I was pretty excited and said, oh, I need to apply for a school code. We use that school code. It is how the student information system and PASI and Alberta Education communicates back and forth and identifies our schools, particularly also for marks and for capital and you name it. That school code is pretty vital. So we sent a letter on behalf of Mike up to Field Services to request a new school code, and they said, "This is fabulous. We need a letter or we need a motion from the board actually recommending this." And so once you pass, and they gave me the motion. Once you pass this, and I sent them a copy of the motion, the actual approval minutes of the motion, and then they will then issue our school code. So,
Christine?
I move that Lethbridge School Division send a request in writing for a new school code to Alberta Education Field Services for the opening of the new K-5 elementary school in Gary Station, named West Cooley Station Elementary School, with the school opening in September 2025 for the 2025-2026 school year.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
thank you.
Next is electoral boundary bylaw. Christine.
Okay, so we're just getting a jump on business that's going to occur a year from October. And that would be the 2025 election. Under the Education Act and the Municipal Government Act, there must be an approved bylaw to establish electoral boundaries for the next election. That has to be approved by December 31st, 2024. And also, if we are planning to work with another jurisdiction on a joint election, we also need that included in the bylaw. And so this is a requirement of the, again, the Education Act, as well as the Municipal Government Act. And the only thing with this bylaw is the Municipal Government Act and the Local Authorities Election Act is actually currently under under review and may have some adjustments that may change the actual section numbers, but Alberta Education told me that that would not be a problem. If it changes before we get into second or third reading, we can actually amend those if that happens. Thought we'd get a jump because it has to be done by December 31st. It is required to go through 3 readings, and this way, I know what our fall gets like. I thought if we got first reading out of the way, it might save us a little time in the falls.
Excellent,
So.
thank you. Craig?
Just a question. So if we do the first reading today, we don't have to do the second or third right away, because then public can give us some input, because we've had the first reading of a bylaw, so that gives people a time to get back to the board on this bylaw, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have certainly, if you do first reading, you won't be doing second or third reading until September, October, depending on when you want to put it on the agenda. Yeah.
Sounds good. Not seeing any other questions, Craig?
Well, then there's no other questions. I move that the bylaw number 2024-01, a bylaw to establish electoral boundaries for the trustee general election and authority for joint election, to be approved for first reading.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried. And next is the superintendent evaluation. So when we hire a new superintendent, our policy states that in the first full school year of employment, we are required to do a summative evaluation. So that process took place this last year, and we've completed that. And we are going to move on to, we need to approve a motion to approve the actual report, and for me to sign off on that report on behalf of the board. So I'm looking for somebody to make a motion. Go ahead, Christine.
I move that the board accept and approve the superintendent evaluation report as developed throughout the superintendent evaluation process as an accurate accounting of the superintendent's performance for the period of September 1st, 2023 to June 2024, and further that the board authorize the chair to sign the report on the board's behalf.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Craig?
I'm just wondering if September 1st, Mike started on August 1st, right?
Yeah.
So should it read August 1st to June 20? So I would make a friendly amendment that it says for the period of August 1st, 2023 to June 2024.
Okay, and that amendment is accepted. Yep, perfect. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And next is 10.8. This was the addition by Craig for the alternative rotating vice chair.
I move that to create the position of alternate vice chair, comma, without compensation, comma, on a 3-month rotating basis for the year 2024-25, period. New sentence, the details will be developed and presented at the September 2024 organizational meeting.
Can you provide that to our recording secretary, please?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you.
Tyler, go ahead.
Just hopefully a friendly amendment, just with all the details to be worked out. I think also that rather than saying now it's going to be a 3-month term, no matter what, I would prefer that also just be investigated and brought back as part of the details of the plan.
I can accept that as a friendly amendment.
Just making sure Kristen and Tina got that. So with that, his motion, instead of with the 3-month term, it's going to be term to be investigated. Okay.
Christina.
And given that the details are intended to come back, we we still have the opportunity to figure out all the pieces, right? Around like if, how we select that person or if it goes unfilled, et cetera. Those things will come.
Absolutely.
And I just want to be clear that, Craig, it'll be you preparing the information that will be ready for the package for the organizational meeting ahead of time. Okay, so that trustees have opportunity to review and if it's the other divisions information that you have to present, but that you are providing that information. Okay, Christine and then Christina.
I'm just curious. I believe this is good work to do. I'm just looking at the order of it. Is it better to have a motion putting the work on course and then approving it at the organizational? Because to me, we're blanket approving and then the information is coming. Like that's how I'm hearing it. So I'm wondering am I correct in hearing it that way? And would it be better putting a motion to support the work to happen and then with hopes to approve it? But I'm not sure that I want to just blanket approve before knowing the details.
And I think that was kind of where Christina's question was coming from, is that I think the wording of it, Craig, is just that it sounds like we're approving the position. And I think that if we could potentially strike that motion and instead have a motion that this be an item added, that the alternative rotating vice chair position information be an item added to the organizational meeting prior to any positions being elected at the organizational meeting. Something more of that nature would be, and I did not obviously write that down, but I think that it would just be more clear that it's not us approving that we're going to do it, but it's that information is going to come forward so that we can have a wholesome discussion at our organizational meeting prior to any election of any position. So it kind of gives that order of where in the agenda it would be without us getting into other positions and it being new business. So.
I was going to say, yeah, the motion could be motion to bring a proposal for the addition of an alternate rotating vice chair position with details and background information that will be considered at the September 10th. I think that's the date, September 10th organizational meeting, something like that. And then now that it's noted, then when you get there, then you can choose to vote on it and define it and all that other stuff.
Jenny?
At the organizational meeting, we can't approve anything, right? It's not a public meeting?
We can, yeah.
It is a public meeting.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Maybe this is in the details you want to iron out, but I'm wondering if we need to have something in that motion indicating that we will try this out for a year, that it's temporary. And then so that we're not tying future boards to that. Or maybe that's something you want to iron out and bring forward later.
And I do think it would be something that we would iron out rather than setting the timeline now in case there's other pieces that Craig discovers as he's investigating and bringing information together. Craig?
I like what Christine Lee has said as far as a proposal. It gives us the flexibility. Plus, I can give the details of how to do it. And then we vote on that, and then we can vote on whether or not we want to do it for 1 year. I mean, there's a couple of motions that can happen at that thing. So if we change it to what Christine Lee had written down, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you're pulling off your other motion and you're replacing it with a motion to you're rescinding. Yeah, sorry, rescinding your prior motion and substituting a new motion, which is to provide a proposal for an alternative rotating vice chair position to be brought to the September 10th organizational meeting, which would include all the details required for the position.
I'm okay with that.
Something like that. It gives you pretty wide berth.
Yeah, it gives us a little more room, and it also satisfies some of the concerns. that we haven't put the cart before the horse. And so I'm fine with that. I'll rescind that motion and then go with that one.
Did you girls get that mumbo jumbo? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Further conversation, comments? Not seeing any, so those in favor? And those opposed? Okay, let's try that again. Those in favor? And those, okay, good, that's carried. Thank you. And next up is 10.9 Whoop Up Days float.
Yes. I move that we investigate the opportunity to put a float into the Lethbridge Whoop Up festivities, their annual parade in August of 2024. And I can speak to it. We just finished a Pride parade where the school board put a float in, and the Whoop Up Days is a totally inclusive, everybody goes. I think it would be right for our board to support having a float at that time. It would be voluntary. We wouldn't require, but it would have to take some kind of a little bit of an organization. But I think it's important that we connect with the community in all of the things that we do. And having a float there is not only a valid thing, it's also a good PR thing, because we are in competition with another school division in our city. I don't have the details yet, but I'd be willing to work on helping define what we can do and how we can do it.
Christine.
I think it's a fabulous idea. However, because I've actually thought it would be a great idea for years to do that. However, the timing I don't think is for this year is very good, because the Pride Parade float they have a committee that plans it and takes a lot of time every year. And then we also have to arrange for our maintenance trucks and tractors and drivers. And with holidays and scheduling and the work that we do in the summer right now, I don't know if we have the ability to provide you with our drivers and our trucks and everything, be given the late date. I think if we can plan it for next year, that might, because everyone's vamoosing on holidays, like
Right.
staff in the next couple, weeks.
And I don't want to put any extra stress. I guess what my concern is, number one, I guess maybe we could reread it, is that I think we should support a parade, a float in a parade. If you feel that the details should be for 2025, I'm fine with that too. So if you want me to adjust my motion, I think I'll break it up into two parts, because I move that we start the planning of having a float, an annual float in the Whoop Up Days festivals.
Okay, can I stop you there? Can you rescind your first one? If
I'll rescind the first one.
Okay.
And so my next motion is that we, what did I just say? Investigate the possibility of having an annual float in the Whoop Up Day parade. So that would be the first part of the motion. The second part is that with the details to be followed up to try to put one in the 2025 parade. Now, I don't know if we want to vote on one part and then the other part, but I agree with you. It's a little late, but I just hadn't thought about it until last weekend.
Yeah. Just to clarify, you've spoken about the board. Is this that the board is doing this and the board is doing what you had said, or is this that you're would like the division?
I guess it would be the board with the division. Because I think it's, first of all, there's going to be some money spent. So the board has to be involved with that. But it also has to be with the division support. I mean, the support of the workers in the staff in the division.
Mike.
Yeah, I'll share some operational perspectives and appreciate Craig's and Christine's enthusiasm for it. And it is a good idea. I I worry very much about the time of year. Like I look at this year and I know we're not talking about this year, but I just kind of went to my calendar. So we've got CAS 6 happening that week because Whoop Up Days are the 20th to the 24th this year. We got our first admin committee. People are starting to come back, but we also got lots of people away on holidays and technically teaching staff and a lot of our staff aren't, our 10-month employees aren't back yet. And so that's the part that I'm concerned about is, and then the next week we've got the welcome back breakfast, which is there's just a lot of things going on that time of year. I've always found Whoop Up Days to be a little challenging that way, just the timing. And so that's something to be very cautious of. That's one thing, if we do decide to go and explore that I want us to be open to from an operational perspective that, maybe we can't pull this off. I'm not sure how much work, how much capacity we have to do. And that time of year, it's a weird time of year because at the Ed Center, we're ramping back up, but not everybody's back. And so that's sort of a bit of a skeleton crew. And so that can make it a little bit tricky. Yeah. And if we add another big picture item and a big item, that requires a bunch of resources, that can be tricky.
Yeah, and the reason I investigate, I don't know if we can pull it off from a facility side of things because we're either hustling to get stuff done and we have a very small crew, or they're trying to get their holidays in because they've been working all summer. And so, yeah, that's my only problem. And it has to be one of our people that drives those vehicles. It can't be anybody else.
Okay, so the motion is on the table. Further questions or comments? Christine?
Is the motion right now to explore the idea
Yes.
or to implement it? I just want to
Explore.
Okay.
Jenny?
Can we read back the motion? Sorry.
Do you guys have it? Need to come to a mic.
Sorry.
Okay, so the first part is that we investigate the possibility of having an annual float in the Whoop Up Days parade. And there was a second part, I don't know if it's part of the same motion, to include a float in the Whoop Up Days parade in August 2024.
I think he had said 2025, yeah. So that second part would be more specific in that relation that. Christine?
I think if we're looking at these motions, I would suggest clearly there's information and data to gather as to the capacity of staff in the division. So I would be supportive of putting forward the first motion to explore the idea. I would request that you rescind the second and then pause that until we get that information because I don't want to commit to 2025 if we don't have the capacity. Because I think it's a great idea. And I think when we engage in this conversation and seeing, okay, is there capacity? It doesn't seem strong. I would love there to be. I think then it will lean into further conversation of how do we creatively promote public education within our community in other ways.
I'll rescind the second part. The first part's the most important. And just an additional thing, if you go to a lot of the local parades, some of those communities that have put forth a float, they'll use it for 4 or 5 years in a row. So I would just say that it doesn't have to be, once we decide, if we decide to go ahead with it, it could be a cost saving where we only do it once and then just adjust it once in a while. But I would be all right with just investigating it right now. I just think it's important that we try to reach the community and show them that we're inclusive of everybody in our division.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Christine?
Where does the budget come from? This is operational. Where does the budget come from for the Pride Committee and the Pride Float? And I know Craig said if it's money, the board has to be involved, which I'm not sold on that. But where does that funding come from? Is there an annual contribution to it? Where is the float kept? I'm just curious about that.
The DARE I think it's a committee through the ATA pays for it. And then the division, I mean, we pay for our 2 guys to drive the truck in the parade. Or they do it voluntarily. I'm not sure if they're doing it on their own time or not, or if we've paid them for that day. I'm not sure, but we provide the truck and trailer and the manpower to drive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seeing no other questions or comments, the motion is here. And those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So next is our division highlights. Fun to celebrate everything that's happening because there is a lot happening. So let's try to keep our lists short and highlights, not everything that you've done, because I know there's lots. So who would like to go first? Craig.
I've been to the Friends of 51 at Nicholas Sharon Lakey, attended the JV Rugby Fest. Really enjoyed, and I have to make a special mention of this, Victoria Park graduation. Just unique school and a unique graduation. ATA retirement, the Lethbridge School Division retirement, Winston Churchill long service. Tomorrow, Nicholas Sharon Lakey long service. Grad on Thursday with Winston Churchill. And a special mention that I went to the guitar concert at Lakey, and a young lady performed her own song that she wrote in the words and music, and it was a really good song. And that's my report.
Excellent, thank you. Jenny.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. I've been attending a lot of different things, but I just want to highlight the overwhelming sense of accomplishment that I've experienced as I've attended all of these different things, the graduations, the final games, the final classes, the final school council. Even just, it was highlighted a little bit in our donation page, but one of my schools that I'm a liaison for is Lakeview, and all year in their parent councils, there's been conversation about they really want to get chalk and bubbles and things for recess, and different strategies brought forward all year long, month by month. And even just to see that at this, at the end of the year, it's in here, they were donated that amount of money from Costco, as well as a backpack for every student. And just seeing everything come together at the end of the year for our students as they're graduating, as they're moving from, even grade 5 grad. I've attended a grade 5 grad, I've attended a grade 8 grad, and our high school graduations, then even just that accomplishment that you're seeing as they're finishing their exams. And as we're celebrating our teachers and the accomplishment in our schools and in our classrooms, and that they've reached milestones with being in service for 10 or 15 or 35 years. And for those who we celebrated in their retirement and all of their accomplishments, it's just been an overwhelming sense of hard work and great accomplishment, and such a wonderful feeling of celebration. So I'll just highlight that because it's hard to sit here and list everything, but that's been the overwhelming theme. So
Thanks, Jenny. Christina, are you ready?
That was so beautiful.
Oh.
Ditto. That's so nice. Yeah. Yeah. Like everybody said, such a busy month and a really exciting opportunity to just celebrate. I heard a good quote about like running races, but of like the race isn't the competition. It's just where you pick up the award. That the whole year is the practice for it, and that this is really just like a symbol of the work of the whole year. And I think that really resonates for schools too. And so really looking forward to the celebration where everyone's just picking up their award for accomplishing everything they did this year. And a special shout out to the many students, families, staff who are celebrating things like Indigenous History Month, National Indigenous Peoples Day, World Refugee Day, Pride, Juneteenth this month, that really highlighted a lot of our students' different skills, backgrounds, abilities, and just really celebrated all the different ways that we make up a beautiful school division with so many wonderful people. So had a wonderful time at Pride and wonderful time hearing from different Indigenous students at National Indigenous Peoples Day and celebrating their great skills. So congratulations to everyone for making it. We did it, guys. Good job. I mean, 2 days. I shouldn't get ahead of myself.
Yes. Still got a few days ahead of us. Andrea, are you ready?
You bet. So I too really enjoyed the Pride Parade. It was wonderful to be a part of. I got to be the backstage manager for Under the Sea at General Stewart, so that brought back great memories. The first time I've been able to judge the ICE scholarships, and shout out to Garrett for helping Christina and I. That was really special of him to do that. I've gone to a grade 5 grad at General Stewart, a grade 8 grad at Patterson, and then with the LCI grad, it made it so that I had seen 3 of 4 children in the same family graduate. So they came over to say thanks for that. And at the Patterson grad, actually a dad of a grad came to tell me that I had taught him kindergarten, and I just thought that was so special that he came to searched me out in the crowd and remembered fondly his kindergarten years. And I went to the Courage Awards at Senator Buchanan that were lovely. And I took in the board retirement banquet and the ATA banquet and retirement celebrations for 5 different individuals. So this month has been all about celebrating the retirees. And I just wanted to thank them all for their amazing contributions to our division and wish them well. And as we go to the schools to give out awards of service, I wanted to give a special shout out to Carrie Fall for having those ready and at the schools, because we get there and they are there. And so thank you to your HR team and everyone for everything that you've done for those. And I went to the Emmanuel Christian Secondary School's beautiful year-end concert, and I'm looking forward to getting to grads in the next 2 days. And just want division-wide to thank all staff and students for the wonderful year and wish them a terrific summer. So appreciate being part of this division.
Thank you, Andrea. Tyler?
I'm good. I think everything's been covered. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine.
Well, I echo what Word said. I think we have an incredible division. I think we have amazing staff that love and care and support our students. And it's just been so great to be able to cheer on and celebrate students in the culmination of this past year and in the graduations, the culmination of their past 13 years. And so we have 2 grads left to go. So I'm looking forward to being present for those. A couple of things I took in. I was able to see Emma, the pop musical, the last musical at Chinook High School. It was hilarious. It was so good. I think we laughed through most of it. It was so good. And so, if you've ever have opportunity to take in the fine arts showcased by our schools, please do so. It was really great. And to the Indigenous Awards Night, it was just such an incredible night of honoring our students. Over 450 awards were given to students, showcasing leadership, perseverance, grades, attendance. And it was just so beautiful and special to see them surrounded by their families and their communities, just being an inspiration to each other, to themselves, and to their community. So that was just a great night. And I also wish all of our staff the rest and adventure that you need in the summer break ahead.
Thanks, Christine. And for my highlights, lots has been shared already. So definitely a huge shout out and highlight to all the people that participated in the Pride Parade and the events on Saturday, our staff and our students and our families that came out to show their support. It's absolutely amazing. A couple of highlights from schools that I was able to attend this last month. So Emmanuel Christian Elementary, able to attend their school council meeting. It was their last one of the year. And just to see the commitment to Christian education from their parents and staff, and the dedication that they have to ensure that that Christian education is available for the students that are in their care. Coal Banks, over 1,400 burgers for their year-end celebration. Absolutely amazing. You could not park anywhere remotely close to the school. You got definitely your exercise in as you walked all the way down as you parked far, far away. But it was absolutely amazing. The staff were out there. They started cooking early in the afternoon and the families just kept coming. So it was absolutely amazing. And then General Stewart. So they are a small school, but they are absolutely mighty. They had a community evening event, which is amazing to see families come together and students be able to share their culture and what's important to them, and whether that was through food or whether that was clothing they wear or a celebration that they were able to share, and kids and families could do absolutely whatever. And it was just an evening of everybody together. And then one of the Oilers games was on that night, so they had that and they showed a movie, and it was just community coming together, which is absolutely what we should be doing. And then the absolute funnest thing that I've done over the last month, and I didn't even know what it was, is called a lip dub. Do you know what a lip dub is? So a lip dub. So I got to participate with General Stewart students, and this one boy took me under his arms and he was like, "You're coming with me." And we ran and I think I did 4 different locations for this lip dub, and you'll have to watch for it because I think it comes out later this week. But does it come last day? I won't give away any of the actual thing, but watch for the lip dub video. Like, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And it was so fun, and just to have that engagement with those students and to see the planning and the energy and the excitement was amazing. And what the staff did for their students to be able to experience that was amazing. So as everybody else has said, staff, students, enjoy your summer. There's lots of break to have and lots of great work that had happened over this last year. Craig?
One quick thing. I've got to thank the Indigenous support group. What a wonderful graduation they had at LCI. And so my hat's off to our administrators at the 4 high schools, for our support staff that work with them, and for the Indigenous unit that works out of our central our Indigenous Ed team. What a wonderful event it was. And it's so gratifying to see some of those kids graduate, considering some of their situations and how excited they were to have their family and friends there. So just a shout out. And I think there's a few of our trustees there, and it was well worth it. So we forgot to mention them. So
I think that was mentioned by many of us at last month's meeting. Yes. But it's always great to reinforce that and remind that. So thank you, Craig. So next we'll move on to the board chair's report. So the first one is standing committee. So the information is there for you. When we come to our meetings this fall in September, we need to be looking at our standing committees as trustees. We chaired those committees, and we need to be submitting our annual reports as well as our terms of reference review at the board meeting in September. So this is your friendly reminder that those need to be done. You can find your terms of reference from September of 2023. They can be found on the website if you need those, but those need to be submitted. And a reminder will go out from Tina as well. So thank you. And then next is retirement. Congratulations. Oh, Craig.
On the standing committees, I think it's a standing committee is the boundary review committee, and it's not listed there.
Okay, we'll make sure that any committee that needs to be on there will be on there. So we'll ensure. Thanks, Craig. So next is the retirement congratulations. So I know that Andrea spoke quite well in regards to the retirements that she's been able to attend. We did have the retirement banquet for our ATA members, and just acknowledging our retirement. The staff that are retiring in our division has been absolutely amazing. We have, as Craig had highlighted earlier, the number of years that staff have put in with our division. So it's wonderful that these staff have worked with us over all these years and that we're able to celebrate them now in retirement as they get not only this summer to celebrate, but to go on and enjoy life, whether that's golfing, reading a book, traveling. We wish them all well, and we thank them for all of their years of service. So all of their names are there and highlighted. And is there anything you wanted to add, Mike? You're good. Perfect. So next is the Division School Council meeting report. So Jenny was going to give an oral report, so I'll just turn it over to Jenny at this point.
Thank you. And I apologize to the board. This typically would have been in consent agenda. I wrote it on Thursday when I got the minutes and thought I sent it in and sent in the wrong one. So, and then I headed into the mountains and was without cell service until Monday. So my apologies. So I did send this out to the board members yesterday. And I'm not sure if you've had a chance to read it or not. I'm happy to go through it, or happy to ask if there's questions for those who've already reviewed it. Is there a desire for me to go through it in detail?
No, I think that that's good. I don't see any hands up, and I know that the minutes of DSC will be posted in the appropriate time, so people will be able to see those as well. So thank you, Jenny. So next we have, I'd pulled from consent agenda the Wellness Committee. And I need to go back to see what it was. So if you want to, it's 3.2 in your agenda packages. So I had pulled it for two simple pieces. So one, I wanted to highlight our mental health capacity building team. They have a very fun calendar. If you can keep scrolling down a bit, keep going. It's nice and bright. You'll get to it in a minute. Keep going, just about there. This fun poster. Okay, so my request is that this be made available on our website, on our Facebook page. If we can set something that it would, go at the end of July as well, but just really that piece of promoting this. I've been able to participate the last couple of summers and gone to some of these events with my daughter and my daughter's friends, and we go out, and often there's not a lot of people there. And I think that these are, not that there's not people there, but I think that it might just be an awareness piece, that if people knew, and they're interactive sessions when you get there, and these are staff from our division that have put in time and effort to host these events, and it'd be great to be able to promote it so that families know that it's something to get them out of the house during the day when they're trying to find something, and it's not a camp you're sending your kid to. It's something that you're going and interacting with your student, and it just really keeps that connection going for students and families that still need connection to our school division and our staff, and they can provide support and resources throughout the summer. So I think just really having this opportunity to promote this piece. So I didn't want it just to go on as the report, just really to push this out through our social media and the importance of the work that they're doing in our community. Is there anything you want to add to that? Because I do have a second piece. Okay. So then my other piece, it doesn't matter if you scroll down or not, but in regards to the digital wellness report that they provided, I know that they speak in here about the parent and community engagement events. So I'm just wondering if you can tell us a bit more about those parent engagement events. I know that there was the one at the Yates, but just looking for some more information what those parent engagement events were and what that might look like going forward in the fall.
Sure, and I think various levels of parent engagement, depending upon whether it's Sydney Erlinson working directly in sort of smaller groups, targeted interventions, versus Kaysen and Sydney putting on the one event at the Yates. This next year, again, we're looking at October, November for an event, of course, aligning and working closely with what we do with the procedure related to digital or personal devices, right? And the ministerial order. There will be a lot of work that this team will have to do. Attending the school council Division School Council. They definitely tried to connect there, and as well with other school councils upon request. So again, what has been really neat is Kaysen and Sydney have received lots of phone calls from parents saying thank you for the work that you've done in supporting our kids in the classroom, as well in those smaller targeted groups that Sydney does. So yeah, varying levels of involvement depending upon schools and student need.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Morag. So I think just the information that if a school council was wanting to have them come in, a school council could certainly put that request forward. So I think just pulling this piece so that parents do know that if they want more information, that we as a division do have that more information to provide, and just put in those requests so that the team knows that you're interested in more information, and those parent engagement pieces can happen at your schools. So think about that over the summer and go forward. Any other questions? I know I asked everything that I pulled, but okay. So with that, I know that we have a few in-camera items to go over, but prior to that, we will be going past 6 o'clock. So I'm just looking for a motion to Craig.
I move that we extend our meeting past 6 o'clock.
Okay. And those in favor? And that's carried. So with that, wonderful summer to all our families and our students and our staff. We won't be coming back after our in-camera. Yes, we do have one other big piece. So we have one of our key staff people that have been with us over the last couple of years, and they have some exciting pieces coming up this summer, and we'll have a busy summer as she's going to be going off on maternity leave. But I am going to come down, Andrea. So Andrea is going to say a couple of words, and Kristen, if you can come on over. It can't. You have to come closer. Oh, thank
you. First, I'll give you. Oh, and doesn't she look beautiful? Oh, yeah. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you for everything you've done. Oh, not again. And we just wish you a wonderful birth of a third baby, and it's going to be wonderful. As a mom of 3, I know exactly how wonderful that will be. And we just appreciate everything that you do for us. And as I say, you look beautiful, and we just wish you well. And thank you for all the support that you've shown us.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Oh, for sure. Yes. Thank you. So congratulations. Okay, so with that, we do need a motion to move into camera. Christine, and those in favor? And that's carried.